They are liaising with the Health and Safety Executive in Northern Ireland and Environmental Health from Causeway Coast and Glens Council. Investigations are ongoing. Ukrainian soldiers have been greeted by jubilant crowds in the city of Kherson. The sound of gunfire has been replaced by the sound of singing, marking the end of 8 months of Russian occupation. Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky has described it as an historic day. Unit Commander Serhiy says victory tastes sweet.
For us, this means that victory is very close. We are winning. We have already felt a taste of victory. We are unstoppable.
And now you're up to date. More in an hour.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair, the slopes are calling. Fly to Europe's top ski resorts with Ryanair's low fares.
Mainly dry tonight with clear spells. Heavy rain will develop in the west and southwest before dawn. Lowest temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees in moderate southeasterly winds, freshening on Atlantic coasts. And now you're up to date. More in an hour.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Fulham versus Man United on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
Yes, welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. Shane Hannon with you through until 5 o'clock this evening. It's time for OTB Football Saturday, brought to you by Sky. Watch every live Premier League game this season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. Should mention as well in the rugby, the second of Ireland's autumn internationals. It has finished at the Aviva Stadium. Ireland 35, Fiji 17. It's looked like a fairly poor game overall as we watch a goal in the 3 o'clock kickoff here, and it's Crescencio Somerville again for Leeds. Tottenham nil, Leeds 1. So an away goal early doors at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But so I was mentioning Ireland 35, Fiji 17. Good performances from Nick Timoney, Kieran Treadwell, Jeremy Loughlin, and Jimmy O'Brien. Tyg Byrne and Gary Ringrose very good as well in that match. So we'll cross back to Andy Dunn shortly for reaction to that one. It is time for OTB Football Saturday, as I said, and delighted to be joined in studio by Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent. Afternoon, Dan.
Afternoon, Shane.
And we have David Connolly, the former Irish international striker, on the line. Afternoon, David.
How you doing, Dan? Shane, hope you're well.
Keeping well. Dan, you were celebrating 40 years of Johnny Ward last night. He's not with us this afternoon, folks. He's
not dead, to be clear.
He's not dead, sorry.
To clarify that.
Yeah, just a 40th birthday for Johnny Ward. What a man, and a big number.
Yeah, big number. Well, I mean, I hit it myself a couple months back. I mean, obviously it's very young, but look, he had a surprise. He had a surprise sort of gathering last night. Very, very rare you see Johnny Ward surprised.
Any tears?
I mean, it's often you would see Johnny Ward tears, so I presume it might have been nothing to do with the 40th. He just could have been something to do with Galway United last week, which he's been crying about for most of the week anyway.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
A lot of emotions in his life at the moment, but no, he had a good celebration. Such a good celebration. He's not here. I think the reason he's not here is he thought he was being taken around the country for some surprise.
Surprise properly worked
just down the road. So I don't know where he is now.
Yeah.
But he's do you know where you send someone a message and on WhatsApp and you have the one little grey tick which shows that the phone is off? It's always a sign of a good night. I sent him a message a few minutes ago. It's got the grey tick.
It's the grey tick.
So there you go.
Yeah. Hopefully he's not feeling too great today, Johnny. It's a big number, David. I was just checking your Wikipedia there. You did. I'm not going to reveal exactly what number you're on, but you have hit the 40 number.
Oh yeah, I think I'm well past the 40 number now. So I think the beard gives it away because it's kind of a little like Father Christmas, but definitely past the 40, lads.
Yeah, it's one I haven't quite hit yet.
Yeah, listen, whatever.
Just rub it in.
Just go down with the show. How old are you? Like whatever. I don't know.
Move on.
Do you know, David? He played football at sometimes. Yeah, you know that. You're aware of all this. Yeah. I get worried now when you start actually like interviewing footballers, and it's like, what's the first World Cup you watched, and it's like 2014 or something. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
98 was mine. Like I have to say.
the staple interview technique probably more so after like David finished, obviously, but it would be more the sort of players when I was sort of started doing the Irish team and say 06, 07, it would be very much Italian 90 memories and stuff. I mean, now you're looking at these lads and they're like,
don't remember anything.
They've heard of it. They've heard of it. But
2002 was just a dream.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember, not to age you, David, at all, but I remember being a kid at Lansdowne Road games it was probably around the 01 qualifying campaign. Going to the old Lansdowne Road for the first time, waiting for player autographs after the match. Distinctly remember David Connolly as being one of those players who would consistently sign everyone's autograph and wait for the kids and pose for the photographs. You were always very good, David, with your time, I have to say.
Well, I don't know, but I told this story before, but because when I was a kid, I was a big Liverpool fan, and I wrote to Jim Beglin, and I've told this story before, but I was just a fan. I just wrote to him, a big fan of yours, because obviously Liverpool at the time had a lot of Irish lads, and for some reason, don't ask me why, but probably Jim didn't have that many, fans that would probably write to him. I'm sure they'd probably write to Ian Rush or King Kenny, but he sent me tickets to a game, and it lives in the memory that I went up to Anfield sort of as a I don't know, I was probably 10. I think it was 10 years old, something like that. Great occasion. So I think it's in it was always stuck with me, and I've seen Jim down the years now, at games, and in those days, like, that would have been, no one would have known about that. That was just done sort of, nothing would have been on social media then about, a sort of player doing something like that, to a fan, for a little kid, So yeah, that was brilliant.
Hey, you don't forget things like that. Like, I remember Rory McIlroy. No. Rory McIlroy's talked about how he tries to stop for kids and give them golf balls and autographs and all the rest, because he remembers meeting Roy Keane and not having a very positive encounter with Roy Keane when he was a kid. So it's probably that sort of thing. Like, you do remember that as a kid, David, and that's probably why you were so conscientious of stopping.
Well, I don't know. I also remember, like a few kids saying, do you want us to look after your car? My brother, he lives around the corner, and you might lose your wheels and stuff at Anfield. I remember those things as well. So it was a good old night. That's for sure.
Absolutely. We should touch on the early game in the Premier League, because remarkable scenes at the Etihad. Manchester City 1, Brentford 2. Ivan Toney, who didn't make Gareth Southgate's England squad during the week, but he's really stuck the two fingers up to Gareth Southgate in many ways this afternoon with a pair of goals, including a 97th minute winner. So 7 minutes into 10 minutes of added time. You were watching this game, David. What a win for Brentford.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I guess they showed the way, right, how to play against Haaland in terms of being sort of aggressive with him. They defended pretty well. And obviously were such a threat. I mean, they could have had so many goals, right? I mean, fantastic. I think the interesting thing is, say for Toney, it was. I think he was a long shot to get in anyway, right? And obviously it was close between him and Callum Wilson. But he gives you bits maybe that other strikers don't. But at least Gareth had the decency to call him up and had a conversation with him. And I think Gareth said, Ivan took it really well. And and I think that's really telling, because you never know. His time might come. It might come pretty quickly, right? I mean, there might be injuries today. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Someone might get injured in the next week or two. So I think how that news is delivered, because I've been in that situation, is so important. And, being a manager, it's great for those lads that are in, but those lads that just missed the cut or not involved, I think at least Gareth had the sort of decency to give them a buzz and explain maybe why not or how close they were, etc. But there's one way to go and put on a performance, right? And that's against the champions. And, he was superb.
Yeah, big time. And then, Dan, it's one of those things, if Arsenal beat Wolves Molyneux tonight, now they go 5 points ahead at the top. We're all talking about, it's just a matter of time before Arsenal start losing and City push on. But I mean, it's only one game today, but still, there's a blueprint there of beating Man City. Yeah, no, I mean, this is it. I mean, you feel like Arsenal would need to have a bigger gap than that to suddenly start to dream from their perspective. And I don't know, this is probably I think it's a funny weekend of fixtures, because the World Cup is looming, and I mean, I didn't see all of this game earlier, and obviously Pep was speaking beforehand, and this idea of resting players, you rule it out, but you've got to imagine somewhere in the back of the mind of some players, they'll have the World Cup. I mean, anytime you see a player go down injured now today, or there's a bit of stuff about just various bits and bobs of little knocks and stuff, and there's obviously a concern. So you kind of wonder, are players in some way inhibited? But that doesn't explain the result. And to be fair, there was periods of the game where City were well on top, and I actually just had to leave here to come in. So I watched the first 5 minutes of the second half and had to go, and City were sort of killing them after half time, and you sort of expect to come in and just wonder what score it was, and it's the other way. But I suppose if Arsenal can get into the break with that lead, as you mentioned, it gives the players that aren't travelling, gives all the staff time to just sort of think about it, the time to recharge. You sort of assume that
where the underdog falls down is that like the quality of the superior squad comes to the fore over time. But those who aren't going to the World Cup get a little bit of a chance to relax, and just Arteta even and his staff to just just take a breath, see where they are, and see where they go. I still think they're going to win the league.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe like 5 points, and it gives everyone a little bit more time to think about it as they go into this break.
It's mad. Like, I was watching the Carabao Cup fourth round draw on telly the other night, David, and of course it served up Man City Liverpool, which is going to be on paper would have been a cracker, but you've got the World Cup final, and then 2 days later you've got on the World Cup final on the Sunday, and then these Carabao Cup fourth round games are on the Tuesday and Wednesday. Isn't it just madness that we're still watching Premier League and the World Cup is only days away?
Yeah, it is, but I think it's one thing playing in the World Cup. Obviously, there's you've got the knockout stages. The final is only 2 teams are going to contest the final, right? So I think you can kind of, for a lot of players, that's not really going to affect them. Let's be frank, right? And you look at some teams, Liverpool, I think they're doing a training camp in Dubai. So if the lads do get knocked out or whatever from around the world, they're just hopping, a little short sort of flight over to Dubai from Qatar or whatever. So you've got that in the back of your mind. And you know what, the Cup, I was at Bournemouth. I worked on Bournemouth Everton,
You're right, yeah.
And at Wigan we reached this Cup final, against Man United. I played every round and then didn't play the final, but nonetheless, the point being, it can give those players on the periphery a chance, right? It can give those players that need a bit of form a chance. I think what might come in, which I think might be a really good thing with this new, I don't know if you've seen the new finance deal. They're talking that clubs in Europe might not enter this Cup in the future, and I think that might be a good thing. So maybe you won't see the monopoly of a Man City dominating this League Cup, and you might see sides like a Bournemouth. Travers played. I thought Bournemouth were brilliant against Everton. Everton much changed team, and they got spanked like they kind of deserved to get well beaten. So I think this Cup competition, much maligned, but I think it's a real, floodlit competitions playing under the lights is brilliant. You ask any player, and a lot of players would want to get to a final, want to win something, So I don't think it'll be a bad thing in this new deal if that happens, that clubs in Europe don't enter this cup competition, and then maybe it will throw it open a bit more than what it is. Well,
I think something's going to have to give with those clubs in Europe as well, with the new sort of Swiss format of the Champions League and the extra games that have been added to the mix, and the way that the fixtures are spread out, even with the Europa League as well. Some of their games are going to be on different weeks, the Champions League week. So just like I'd imagine, like that's got to be related factor to some of the thinking as well too. And I would. I mean, you look at a club like Newcastle have won nothing, and like sort of in
the Fairs Cup in '69.
Yeah, like in the lifetime of a lot of their sort of match going fans, I've never seen them do anything. And I think that's always one of the things about some of the sort of, maybe, I don't know, sadness is the wrong word, but like the lack of romance about the Premier League in some respects, that clubs that are 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, like they just have to, when it comes to the FA Cup and when it comes to sort of the cup competitions, like the reason City and the big teams dominate it is because they can rotate and still be fine.
Yeah.
And these other teams can't, because there's so much about survival or Premier League placing, and you'll have the odd story in recent memory, like Birmingham won it, but then they got relegated, which was almost in some ways like backs up the view of what would have been better for them, and yet, fair. But then you'd speak to like Keith Fatty was involved and like players involved with it, like the memory that Stephen Carr, like they're okay with it. Yeah. It's like Wigan, Wigan won the FA Cup as well too, like the memories of those last. I mean, Leicester a couple of years back, they missed out in the Champions League. Yeah, it would have been brilliant, but they won the FA Cup, and that's something that will live with them forever. And when you see sort of teams who've won nothing in a long time, sometimes just write off these cup competitions. And
you can see why. You can understand why.
You do understand. I mean, managers like managers will get sacked on the basis of their league position generally. And a cup thing might preserve them a bit. But I understand where the sort of pragmatism comes from. But it's not always very endearing.
That go on ahead, David.
Is, lads, just on that, Shane and Dan, right? Because Everton, they're 1-0 down at the minute again. Bournemouth have scored, right? So say Frank makes 11 changes. You're a manager of a football club, and you mentioned it there about, obviously the cup might not be that important or whatever, and they make the changes. You make 11 changes. You know the pressure that is now heaped on you to then go and perform a few days later in the league. So now they're back down at Bournemouth, right? Those Everton fans, Frank Lampard went over there and his hands did not leave his pockets. There was no way he was going to attempt to appease those fans and give them a round of applause for coming, because they would have given him, what. And I think it's just a fine balancing act between thinking about your league and treating the cup with contempt, because all those lads who travelled down, all those fans or whatever, travel down from Merseyside to go and get whacked 4-1, and then they'll be back there again a few days later. You make a rod for your own back once you make so many changes, because the pressure is on then to go and get a performance and points a few days later. So, it's a real fine line, how you treat those cup competitions. It really is.
Like that, you mentioned Mark Travers, David. He was the only Irish interest in that game on midweek, the Bournemouth 4-1 win.
Yeah.
You said he played well?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I mean, look, I have seen him live. I saw him against Spurs, and I thought he looked rusty. Let's just say he looked rusty. He come for a few things. He missed one ball in the box they scored from, and he looked like he just needed more games. But against Everton, he was excellent, and I'm sure Mark will be absolutely. I think he'll be absolutely fine. Now, with games under his belt, he'll get better and better and better. But I think those first couple of games when he got back in, he was maybe just finding his feet a little bit. But he was good. He was really good. He could play out from the back compared to Begovic, who used to be at Bournemouth, was in goal for Everton. They look very, very good. And I think Aaron has done a good job there. In spite of maybe not getting the points and stuff, they played really well when I've seen them.
It's worked out okay. Travers had that tough start to the season, and that nightmare at sort of Anfield, and he loses his place, and the fear is what if he doesn't play another game this season, which is plausible because Neto started well, and as David mentioned, Gary O'Neill is doing well, and naturally he's not going to change. So it's actually great for Travers that, bad for Neto, but great for Travers he's managed to get back in, that even if he does maybe end up not playing every game across the rest of the season, that at least there's an element of his last memory isn't that being dropped after those handful of games. He's managed to get back in, and he's had one or two tough games since he's come back into, but maybe he's just regaining some of that confidence that made him such a good player. He got a 5-year deal last season because how well he did, but the Premier League is obviously very demanding, and Bazzunu's had some of his issues with it too as well. It's a tough level to suddenly play at every week. Jeez,
we have some talent in the goalkeeping ranks, don't we? As we watch, we're just watching 26 minutes played here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Harry Kane has just equalised for Spurs at home to Leeds. So Crescencio Somerville had given Leeds a lead, an early enough lead in that game. After 10 minutes, and then Harry Kane just there has equalised, took the ball down nicely, held off the Leeds defender, and that's
there's going to be is this goal
check?
There's the claim for a foul on the keeper,
right? Yeah, Ilan Meslier looking for a foul. Harry Kane with his hands up as if to say, let me have my goal. Few claps. Yeah, it's one of these things you can't get excited. I'll update people on the other goals around the Premier League. The goal has stood, so Tottenham 1, Leeds 1. The early game, of course, we mentioned Man City 1, Brentford 2. It's now Bournemouth 2, Everton 0. Marcus Tavernier and Kiefer Murray with the goals there for Bournemouth. So not a good afternoon so far for Lampard's team.
Just on what I was saying, I was reading Jacob Steinberg updating from West Ham Leicester. James Maddison has now gone off.
Wow.
Declan Rice was down having treatment earlier. Maddison has now gone off, and you sort of wonder again, I don't know, David, can you imagine the sort of the feeling in a player's head? You've been to a World Cup, and I'm sure there was the degree of nerves coming into it about your well-being, but of course it was at the end of the season, so there was a sort of a longer preparation time for it. Can you imagine the psychology of having a World Cup next week?
Yeah, look, as you mentioned, right, lads going down, but those players that are being close to the squad or in the squad, like, say, Maddison, obviously boosted with the squad, no doubt boosted his performance, right, today, come up with a goal, but he might be coming off injured. Obviously it's in the back of your mind. This can work two ways, right, because from my own point of view, after we played the World Cup for Ireland, I think I came back and within 2 weeks I was back training with my club. I then played a game of pre-season a couple of days later, and I then injured my medial ligament so badly I missed like 4 months. Now, there's no way I probably should have had just 2 weeks break, and there's no way after coming back training I should have had a couple of days training before then go and play in a game, So I look back on that, I think, was that the right care for me as a player? Probably not. I look at these lads, though, and I say, well, they do get very well cared for. They, medical, sports science, loading, the data that is given to all these clubs is a lot better than it was 20 years ago. Make no mistake. So these lads will be really, really well looked after. However, if you need points on the board, right, and you're a top player, you're not going to be wrapped up in cotton wool, are you? If you're James Maddison or whatever, and you're Leicester, you need to be playing irrespective of the World Cup, because ultimately they pay your wages. They can't afford to, even with a World Cup at stake.
Yeah.
That you got to climb the table. So there's no way that these lads won't be playing. Because you're like they're the best. They're the best of the best. So you can't afford to wrap them up in cotton wool.
No, and like that's it. They have to play, but I suppose it's the psychology of players coming off the pitch injured and the type of thing that you want to play on. Like the natural instinct is to play on. And someone asks you how you feeling, like, and you're sort of thinking sometimes players might. You can play something down in that situation because you don't want to be taken off. But what are you thinking in this scenario?
It's very difficult, Dan, because say for example you can't fool the fans. Those fans will know if you're so to speak throwing one in or not going the full yards. So not every fan of Leicester is a fan of England. It's a fine line, and also these players become so great because they're always playing on the edge. You're always playing on the edge of injury or of worried about your place or performing to get to the next level. I mean, I think it's just something you're just always contending with, right? So. There's no way any of these lads will want to be wrapped up. I think maybe a Messi. I believe he might have missed the last game at Barca or something. But I think for everyone else, I think you just play and you just that's the only way there is.
It's So it's West Ham 0, Leicester 1. Maddison had actually scored the goal to give Leicester the lead on 8 minutes. Taken off, looks like a hamstring injury. He did walk off the pitch, but. That's not good, is it?
No. No.
Really not good for him. Obviously, wait and see what the scans tell us and what is said after the game. But it's even one of those things. I'm watching Tottenham Leeds here, and I'm thinking, there's a couple of the USA lads in the Leeds team. Like, are you thinking in your head, I could take Harry Kane out of it here and take my red card? And
that's taking it to another level now.
But
that's taking it to another level.
If you're thinking about your World Cup and not too concerned about picking up your little cheeky red card or 2 yellows for a couple of little digs here and there. Maybe that doesn't happen in football, does it, David?
No, it doesn't. No, I don't think that does happen. But I think, look, if you're talking about certain players, I mean, Maddison didn't play in the cup, did he, midweek?
Yeah.
So there's only so much you can do, right? And otherwise, it's down to, I know a lot of these lads now. They got their own chefs, right? They got their own physios. They have their own analysts. These are athletes of the highest level we're talking about, and sometimes it could just be, who knows, unfortunate, bad luck. I don't think you can do much more than that.
Anfield, Liverpool 2, Southampton 1 is the latest score after 32 minutes. So Bobby Firmino gave Liverpool the lead on 6 minutes. He of course didn't make the Brazilian World Cup squad. Shea Adams equalising for Southampton 3 minutes later, but Darwin Núñez has restored Liverpool's lead. Harvey Elliott with the assist for that goal, which occurred on 21 minutes. So it's Liverpool 2, Southampton 1. City ground as well, it's Nottingham Forest 0, Crystal Palace 0. So we'll keep an eye on plenty of those fixtures happening across the water. While in the Championship, the goals that have gone in: Coventry City 1, QPR 0. It's Hull City 1, Reading 0. Jacob Greaves with that goal. Luton Town 0, Rotherham 1. It's Norwich 1, Middlesbrough 0. Joshua Sargent with the goal. Preston and Millwall are locked at 2-2.
That's putting more goals in that game than Preston's season.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Prior to that, 4 goals in a Preston game is breaking all the...
that doesn't happen.
The rules. Yeah.
So they're the goals across the Championship so far. We do have to take an ad break, lads, but we'll be back very shortly with myself, Shane Hannon. We've got Dan McDonnell here, and we've got David Connolly on the line as well. So plenty still to come between now and 5 o'clock. Just time to remind you as well about an event that's coming up for us here on on Off the Ball. So the World Cup, of course, almost upon us. Off the Ball and Budweiser have teamed up to bring you a special preview event on the 17th of November in the Camden. Our special guests on the night are ex-Celtic and Wales star John Hartson, the ex-Irish international Damien Delaney, and the ex-Ireland and Leeds star John Giles. To get tickets for this exclusive off-air event, head over to otbsports.com. That's all in association with Budweiser, the official beer of the FIFA World Cup. Always drink responsibly. Get the facts. Visit drinkaware.ie. Back with OTB Football Saturday after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Wolves versus Arsenal on Saturday Night Football. Tonight, live on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk. Future Proof.
Science Week 2022 encourages us to explore the infinite possibilities of science for all of us. So that's exactly what we're going to do at a live recording of Future Proof. Join me, Jonathan McRae, and a host of special guests for a live Future Proof special on Wednesday, November 16th at the Central Quad at TU Dublin Grange Gorman. How long could you run if you had infinite energy? Is infinite life possible?
Future Proof.
Proudly supported by Science Foundation Ireland.
If you'd like to be there, just head to newstalk.com/events to get your ticket.
Your van, it's everything. Your supplies carrier, your toolbox, your workmate, your business card. If it's reliable, your business is reliable. So if you're upgrading to a new 231 or looking to switch to an electric van, choose a Ford Transit and maximise your productivity. The Ford commercial vehicle range, including the new all-electric e-Transit, is now ready for your business in 2023. Ford Commercial Vehicles, driving productivity. Visit Ford.ie for latest promotions.
At Power City, you can recycle your old electrical appliances free. To find out more, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
Every Sunday, read the news, the views and exclusive interviews. And all the business, sport, culture, lifestyle and travel, all in the Sunday Times. Plus, with a digital subscription, follow the global news all week in the Times and the Sunday Times. Subscribe at thesundaytimes.ie/join.
If you have a TV, you must have a TV licence. It's the law. Choose the convenient option and pay online, anytime at tvlicence.ie. Your TV licence made easier. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Are you at high risk from COVID-19? COVID-19 doesn't wait, and neither should you. If you are at high risk of severe COVID-19 and showing symptoms, it's time to act immediately. Assess yourself for symptoms, confirm through COVID-19 testing, and if positive, talk to your healthcare professional to seek clinical assessment and advice. Visit knowyourrisk.ie to find out if you are at high risk of severe COVID-19. This message is brought to you by Pfizer and supported by the Irish Heart Foundation.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €4.5 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Jude here from Elephant Self-Storage. Moving, renovating or need space for your home or work? Elephant Self-Storage will arrange your move and store your goods securely. Picture a 5-star hotel with 800 own key storerooms. Come and go as you wish. Stay as long as you like. Free collection and free boxes when you book online. Search Elephant Storage or phone 494 0000. That's 494 0000. Elephant Storage, the hotel for your goods. Terms and conditions apply.
What do you give someone who has everything? Everything. Because that's what you get with an Aldi gift card. Choose from delicious Christmas food and drink, or even our legendary Aldi special buys. Amounts start from €10. It's perfect for loved ones or hard-working team members. And it shows them just how gifted you are. Buy online or in store. Discounts available for bulk orders. Aldi. Make Christmas amazing for everyone. Terms apply. Visit aldi.ie/gift cards for details.
Looking for the perfect gift? Why not send them somewhere unexpected? Send them to the scene of the crime, where nothing is as it seems. Send them on a date with someone completely unsuitable. Send them to another land, a place where no roads lead to. Find the shortlist for the An Post Irish Book Awards at onpost.com/readers wanted and discover the joy of sending books, from novels to non-fiction. An Post, proud sponsor of the Irish Book Awards.
Every business is preparing for new opportunities. SkillNet Ireland helps you to understand the skills your business needs to reach its full potential. Continually strengthening your team will give your business the competitive edge. Think business. Think talent. Visit skillnetireland.ie/think talent for supports on developing your people. SkillNet Ireland is a business support agency of the Government of Ireland.
Are you one of at least 380,000 people in Ireland living with COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease? Do you or a loved one have a persistent cough, shortness of breath, or recurring chest infections? If so, please contact your GP or get advice from a specialist nurse on 1800 83 21 46. November 16th is World COPD Day. Visit COPD Support Ireland at copd.ie to find out more. Breathe in, reach out, and help us to support people living with COPD in Ireland.
At Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, we put safety first. If you drive a van for work, you should too. A Road Safety Authority study revealed more than a quarter of fatal and serious injury collisions involving a light commercial vehicle occur between 4 and 8 p.m. Remember, tiredness kills. Stop safely, have a caffeinated drink, and take a 15-minute nap. Keep moving safely. With Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles and the Road Safety Authority, help drive safety home. Visit volkswagenvans.ie/advice.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Fulham versus Man United on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
Yep, welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. Shane Hannon with you through until 5. OTB Football Saturday brought to you by Sky. Watch every live Premier League game this season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. We have Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent in studio, and we have David Connolly, the former Irish international striker, on the line. We'll be joined after 4 o'clock by Brian Gartland of Dundalk to look ahead to the FAI Cup final tomorrow as well. So plenty to get into. Man City 1, Brentford 2 was the score in the early kick-off in the Premier League. So 2 goals from Ivan Toney, including a 97th minute winner in stoppage time to win that one for Brentford. It's Bournemouth 2, Everton 0 after 39 minutes in the Premier League. Similar times on the clock at Anfield. Liverpool 2, Southampton 1. Firmino and Nunez with the goals for Liverpool. It's Forest 0, Palace 0. Tottenham 1, Leeds 1 is the game we're watching on television in studio here. West Ham 0, Leicester City 1. Also at London Stadium, James Maddison, who scored the goal for Leicester, as we were saying earlier, limping off with what looked to be a hamstring injury. So worrying at times for Gareth Southgate as he waits to see what the extent of that injury is for James Maddison. At 5:30 it's Newcastle against Chelsea at St James's Park, and then 7:45 p.m. is Wolves versus Arsenal tomorrow at Molineux. The 2 games tomorrow, of course. Live commentary of both of those games tomorrow and Off the Ball from 2 o'clock. It's Brighton against Aston Villa, and 4:30 Fulham versus Manchester United. So both games live here and Off the Ball on News Talk. Keep your texts coming in to 53106. We're live for the next hour and a half or so, and of course you can comment and watch on the YouTube, Facebook or Twitter streams as well. Dave, I just wanted to pick up on something you were saying there before the break. You were talking about the Carabao or the League Cup final you were playing with, or you were involved for Wigan against Manchester United. You played every game in the build-up to the final, but weren't involved in the final, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I probably wouldn't have started, but I pulled my hamstring in those days. We had it was 2-legged semi-final.
Right. Yes, of course.
So nowadays I think I'm sure we'll get on to the merits of doing away with the 2-legged semi-final, but probably if it had gone to straight to pens in those days, I mean, we were home against Arsenal the first leg. Don't know if we'd have got through. Look, it's hard to tell, right? But certainly the penalties, as we saw the other night, makes it kind of exciting. It probably does fit in with the calendar in terms of I guess trying to have a conclusion to these games on the one night. Certainly makes it exciting, as we saw with Liverpool and even Blackburn. The other night.
Yeah, definitely. It adds to the intrigue, I think, when the 2-legged is done away with, Dan, isn't it?
Well, but I think it's just like we were saying earlier, with the demands on players, with fixtures and even just little tweaks to the international calendar. I know that when Qatar has been a massive factor in that, but even without it, the way things are going, those are the things that go. It's like sort of you kind of wonder, the fate of the FA Cup replays as well too, and these things that are, there's a great tradition contained within them, but there comes a point where you sort of something has to give. Like it's very, you're never going to have a shorter Premier League season. I'm just watching Leeds score again here.
Jeez.
It's actually been a really good game.
Yeah,
Spurs
dominating possession, but Leeds just have that threat when they go forward, don't they?
Yeah.
It's Rodrigo with the goal for Leeds to put them 2-1 up, 43 minutes played.
Yeah, but it is certainly a thing that player welfare. I know, it's sort of one of these lines that people will throw their, sometimes they'll throw their eyes up when they look at the money they're paid and all of that. But there comes a point where, you see these players, particularly the ones who have sort of grueling international schedules, that they burn out after a couple of seasons, and you sort of need to have a little bit of give in the calendar sometimes. And the cup competitions is the one thing where you can mix things up a bit.
Yeah.
But the one-legged ones are good. As I said, penalty shootout the other night, and more of that is no harm.
For sure. And Caoimhín Kelleher, the king of the penalty shootout. I mean, he's building a reputation as someone who, if Liverpool are in a big game and Alisson's in goals and it's about to go to penalties, do you bring Caoimhín on? You probably don't, but I mean, there's the argument there. He's saved more penalties than any keeper in Liverpool history.
It's crazy, yeah. I mean, it's great for him because he had that injury, sort of this contentious, what happened with his injury? Was it an Irish duty or what happened with it? Whatever it was, he missed the start of the season, and even getting towards the end of the Champions League, then when Liverpool were qualified, you're thinking, is he going to get in for a game here? And he didn't. But then he literally has had one chance to impress, and he's taken it. But I mean, Kelleher was the one that he did the press conference on Ireland during the summer before there was 4 games, where it was for the first time he really spoke as though he was thinking about moving. It was the first time where he really said, we'll have to see what happens this summer. And then he had an injury in pre-season, and you kind of wonder would that have any had impact on where he stood. Now it's clearly Klopp loves him, clearly they want him around, but there is going to come a point in his development where he needs to play more regularly.
Does he need that move away, David, sooner rather than later?
Yeah, lads, I mean, I think probably Gavin Bazunu might, the path that you can sometimes tread in terms of, Gavin going on loan, and then, you catch the eye of a club, and then you get that move to, well, as he is now, he's at a Premier League club, Gavin, as a number one. Would he have got that move if he'd have stayed at Man City? Probably not. I mean, Caoimhín has made that call. Whether he would have gone on loan, I don't know. As Dan was saying, we're not too sure, are we? But certainly, I think there does come a point that and I reckon he's probably at that point now, and maybe it might be, I don't know, it might be January time. He might look to, can he get out and go and play somewhere? And I don't really think it matters necessarily the level. Because I tell you what, if you're a Premier League club, right? If you're a Southampton, any of these clubs like that, their recruitment, and I know some of these people that work at these football clubs, they know every player from 14 up to 20 odd in all of these Premier League clubs, and they will know whether they are worth 5 million, 10 million now, like Southampton did with, they bought 3 lads from Man City, Leiva, they got Gambazunu, Edozie, and they bought them for, I think, 5-10 million each. I think they turned down a £50 million offer from Chelsea, for Leiva. And so they'll know about Caoimhín. And it's just whether it comes up, that opportunity, because I think then he's on an even playing field with Travers and Gavin, in terms of being that number one. But I think while he's on the periphery at Liverpool, the odd cup game, I think it's very difficult for him to ever be ahead of those two.
Yeah, I mean, look at Kelleher's 24 next month, or later this month, sorry, and he's never played a sort of that full men's season that sort of putting his feet up at the end of the season, having played 30 or 40 games, and that's so unusual because generally under 23 level is the cut off where a lot of players who aren't making it at a club get released,
they
go on loan, or they get out there and they do it, or they've done a loan. And he hasn't done that. It's so I can't think of too many examples off the top of my head of someone his age who probably would have played that little, yet is clearly able to operate at an extremely high level when he does, based on sort of the his training, development, etc. He's ready. He appears to be ready. So I mean, it really is at that stage where you probably do just have to move on.
Do you not think though that the goalkeepers are the exception to that rule of being of such an age where they may not have had much first team football? There's a lot of examples of goalkeepers who very rarely they've been the number one, and if they have been the number one, Danny Ward, for example, at Leicester for a long time hasn't been the number. I think you can be unfortunate. It doesn't mean you're not good enough or not ready, but I think they are the exception to the rule of being a certain age and not having enough first team football. I think that point has got to come now for him. Even probably this season, I'd imagine January time he should be. Another whole season without. I think that's difficult.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. Incidentally, Gavin Bazunu did start today for Southampton. Nathan Jones' first game in charge. It's half time there. He's conceded, unfortunately, 3 goals for him in the first half. Liverpool 3, Southampton 1. So Firmino with the first, and Darwin Núñez has got the other 2 for Liverpool in that game. Just want to touch, lads, for you, like the match day experience and match going experience. You'll have both experienced this in different countries, but this talk that so there are currently supporters are prohibited at Premier League games from consuming alcohol within sight of the pitch at English top flight matches. Calls to overturn this law, so it's been in place since the football hooliganism days, of course, since the mid-80s in England, but basically they're trying to stop people from coming into games late, because they all stay in the pub to get those last couple of pints in and then end up coming into the stadiums later. But football policing chief Mark Roberts says it's going to be a terrible idea, that removing this ban would actually cause severe problems. Drinks routinely thrown in the air by fans widely celebrating. Like, there is the argument then of, like I was at a game in Germany a few years ago, and
Germany, I was going to say, is as an example.
But maybe it just can't happen in England.
Well, I'd be interested to more so get David's perspective, because from the you've played in some intimidating places or difficult grounds. The idea of alcohol being on sale within it. I mean, I do think sometimes in this country, right, you have this thing where, say, at the Aviva Stadium for a period of time, you can get it at rugby matches and you can't get it at football matches, and there's a certain stereotyping of what's going on here. Now, I know that there can be competition rules and there can be various factors for that, but there is it's a thing there. It's a little bit sort of implicit of like, not sure if we trust this lot.
Yes.
And I would naturally take umbrage at that, but I don't know then what the player's perspective would be on it, David.
I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of should everyone be treated the same? I'm really reticent on this, because I'm not too sure I'm not too sure the two crowds. Look, we know the two crowds are different, right? A rugby crowd and a football crowd. No matter what you say, I think they are different. The behaviour is different. I'm not saying the rugby crowd are saints, far from that, but there is certainly, and I think it's getting worse. I think I've spoken on this before. I've been going to work to a game on a Saturday, and there'd be lads opposite me openly taking drugs, and they've got the shirts on, going to the stadium, a Premier League ground. So not only are they going into the grounds, they're under the influence in ways. Some are visible, some you don't really see. So I think they've got a big issue, and to me, the disorder at times looks like it's getting worse. It doesn't look like it's ever improving. I don't know. Alcohol at the stadium, but trying to make them consume more on the pitch above the stands. Would it be thrown everywhere on top of your head? I'm not so sure. I don't know what the answer is. I think the pub pre-game is a kind of ritual, and I've done that once or twice. It's quite nice, right? We want to meet the lads. You want to have a pint. But obviously, it's part of the ritual of going to football. But and I think it's hard to impose something on fans when you can't control everything. I think you can do your best to police it, but it's difficult to put. It's a difficult one. I don't really have the answer. I do know that if you're a player, you kind of just get on with your game, right? And whether you get whether it's a bit more lively on the terraces or not, as long as it's safe and everything, I think players prefer to play, in a good atmosphere. Whether that sometimes, people, a little bit merry. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? There's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself. As long as the atmosphere is pretty good. You ask the players, they'd much rather play in a good atmosphere than somewhere a bit more sterile and boring. That's for sure.
We do have to let you go, David, but maybe just before we do, the Irish squad name this week, just briefly, Evan Ferguson and Will Smallbone, exciting additions to Stephen Kenny's squad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Evan's done great, hasn't he? 21s, and he's amongst the goals. So yeah, I think certainly they're exciting additions. I think obviously Stoke could do with their performances, being more regular and picking up. But Will's a terrific player as well. So that's all good. And look, we got competition because Andy Stevens, Ryan Manning, difficult for them to get in the squad. So that kind of bodes well. So and another striker in there just in case. I think Will Keane might be struggling. So it's good we've got another forward in the ranks.
Yeah, hopefully they can add some more goals for sure. David, great stuff as always. Thanks a million for your time this afternoon.
Take care, guys.
David Connolly there, the former Irish international striker and Premier League player, of course, as well. Just time to tell you, one of the world's greatest motivational endurance athletes and best-selling author David Goggins is coming to Dublin for the first time on February 17th, 2023. Tickets can be picked up now at www.inextremis.ie. That's INXTREMIS.ie. Each night this week and each day, we're giving away 2 tickets to see David Goggins live in the Convention Centre in Dublin. One lucky prize winner will also be upgraded to 2 platinum tickets, which includes a signed copy of his book and a meet and greet photo. To enter, just follow at inextremis.ie and like and share the social post on our channels. OTB Football Saturday with myself and Dan McDonnell will be joined by Brian Gartland of Dundalk in studio right after the news.
On radio, on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and Smart Speaker. Play News Talk.
TV on its last legs. Black Friday sales around the corner. If you're looking for more financial flexibility, look no further than the An Post Money Flex or Classic Credit Card powered by MasterCard. With 2 great cards to choose from, you can pick the one that's right for you and feel in control again. Make your money stretch a bit further. Search An Post Money Credit Card and untangle your money today. Lending criteria, T's and C's apply. An Post acts as a credit intermediary on behalf of Avantcard DAC. An Post trading as An Post Money is authorised as a credit intermediary by the CCPC. Avantcard DAC trading as Avant Money is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. The An Post Money Credit MasterCard is issued by Avantcard DAC pursuant to licence by MasterCard.
Insure My Cars.ie. Hi, I'm Ken Doherty, and when I need car insurance, I contact the specialists at InsureMyCars.ie. Their team always finds me the best policy at the lowest price and with all the benefits I need. If your car insurance is up for renewal, visit InsureMyCars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyCars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Introducing the Bosch Unlimited 7 cordless vacuum cleaner. Bosch's most flexible vacuum cleaner yet. The premium model includes a quick charger and 2 exchangeable battery packs to ensure that you never run out of power. Now with a full 90-day money-back guarantee. For more information, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
Declan? Yeah? Did you know there's already been more than 20 big Euro Millions winners this year? What? 20? Yeah, and that's just in Ireland. Whoa, wait. How big is big? At least €500,000. Whoa! Oh, is that another dream? Yeah, snorkeling in Fiji. Hey, Decky. Yeah? Don't forget your ticket.
The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun. Euro Millions and Euro Millions Plus wins between January and September 2022.
When he steps out of the showers, his teammates slag him off.
Are you hiding something from us?
He plays along at first, but then they gather around him, whip his towel off, make videos of him. Those who see he's upset laugh it off, saying,
"We're just having a laugh. Sure, what's the harm?" It's time for zero tolerance of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. It has no place in our society. Learn more at gov.ie/zero tolerance or in an emergency call 999, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Ho, ho, ho! Oh, another letter. And another one. And another. And another. And another letter from my landlord. Another letter telling me to leave. Another letter taking my home.
This is Dublin 2022. Many elderly renters are facing their last Christmas with a home. You can do something about it. Donate today at dubsimon.ie. Dublin Simon. Homeless, not less.
Dundalk has the largest range of electric vehicles in Ireland from Ireland's trusted premium car dealerships. That's why you will find Brady's Dublin Mercedes-Benz on Dundalk. Stop by Brady's Dublin Mercedes-Benz showroom on Dundalk today and connect with them for great deals on electric vehicles. Dundalk, for electric vehicle deals to feel great about from all of Ireland's trusted car dealerships.
It's important to be able to do all the things you love at Christmas. That's why Tesco are standing up for joy this year. Dust off the party dress and send the invites with frozen finest party food now €8. Choose from lobster mac and cheese, scallops wrapped in bacon and more. Create a warm welcome with selected lights and trees now half price. Plus 3 for 2 in luxury reindeer wrapping paper, tinsel and 10-pack Christmas Carol cards. We're standing up for joy this Christmas. Tesco. Every little helps. Products subject to availability. Excludes express stores.
You don't have to travel far to get global legal advice. Because one of the biggest law firms in the world is also the fastest growing law firm in Ireland. Bringing together global experience and local expertise to meet your challenge. DLA Piper, your local global legal people.
Looking for ways to save on business energy costs? The SEAI Energy Academy, a free e-learning resource designed with Ireland's leading experts in energy efficiency, will save you the search. There are modules that cover how to help lower energy costs, best energy practices and no-cost, low-cost solutions to reduce energy, with upskilling opportunities for staff too. Reduce your use and sign up at seai.ie/Energy Academy. SEAI, supported by the Government of Ireland.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank. Move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app in sole name for over 18 personal customers. Residents of Republic of Ireland only. Fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded Bunkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
On radio, on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud, and Smart Speaker. Play News Talk on 106 to 108 FM, on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and Smart Speaker. This is News Talk.
It's 4 o'clock. This is Ken Murray. Good afternoon. Thousands of people have taken to the streets across the country to protest over rising costs. The Cost of Living Coalition is calling on the government to deliver further measures for struggling households. They say rising rents and childcare are unsustainable for many people. Social Democrats councillor Owen O'Brien says more targeted payments are needed.
There are so many costs for the Irish families: health insurance, childcare, education for primary school. These costs don't help when there's rising energy prices and income has stayed the same, and that's putting people under a lot of pressure.
Energy suppliers have slashed the discounts they have been offering new customers. Householders could have saved up to 40% on their energy bills if they switched providers just a few weeks ago, but this has now dropped drastically. Charlie Weston, personal finance editor with the Irish Independent, says it's bad news for consumers, but it is still worth switching.
Electricity prices were up 70%, gas prices 90% in the last year. So look, at 10% is 10%. You know, don't leave that money behind. Go and get it.
A 12-year-old schoolgirl is preparing to sit a Leaving Cert Maths exam for charity. Cara Dermody from Ardfinnan, County Tipperary, is taking on the challenge to raise awareness of a nationwide lack of services for children with additional needs. It comes off the back of successful attempts at the Junior Cert Maths exam this summer, scoring 97%. Cara says her 2 autistic brothers are to the forefront of her mind when she's studying.
Neil is 10 and John is 5. They're both severely autistic. They can't talk. They can't really understand things. It's really sad that my mum and dad have to face this too, because it's always really tough for my mammy and my daddy. So we have to acknowledge that too, and that there's 18,000 other children in the country like this. And waiting lists are a total disgrace.
It's 2 minutes past 4.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Sick of cold weather already? Get sun in Gran Canaria, Lanzarote or Tenerife.
Mainly dry tonight with clear spells. Heavy rain will develop in the west and southwest before dawn. Lowest temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees in moderate southeasterly winds, freshening on Atlantic coasts. And now you're up to date. More in an hour.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Fulham versus Man United on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
Yeah, you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. Shane Hannon with you through until 5 o'clock. OTB Football Saturday brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. Might just quickly run you through the half times in the Premier League. So watching Bournemouth versus Everton in the first half was Dave Garrett.
Bournemouth 2, Everton 0. Bournemouth have swamped Everton here. England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford made an error for the first. Dominic Solanke with a shot from 20 yards. Pickford should have dealt with it comfortably. It looked like he had it first. The keeper got two hands on the ball and then dropped it. And Marcus Tavernier was there to slot it into the net. It was kind of a Pickford assist. Dreadful for him on the eve of the World Cup. Something the Bournemouth fans have reminded Pickford of. To be fair to Pickford, he made a good save in the lead up to the second, turning away a billing bullet. Acrobatically only for Tavernier to head the ball back goalwards, and keeper Moore, who was almost on the goal line, to flick it into the net with his forehead. Mikalenko had to go off with a head injury in the clash with Moore on the goal line, but I think it was right that the goal stood for the Welshman Moore, who is going to the World Cup, of course. They couldn't let a two-goal lead slip again, could they, Bournemouth? In fact, it could have been three. Solanke shooting wide on the turn on 40 minutes. Frank Lampard must be under pressure if Everton lose this. The Merseysiders have not had many chances. Maupay almost on the score sheet in the opening 5 minutes. He swiveled in the box and put his shot over. It's blue skies and sunshine in November on the south coast. It is a bit like Qatar. Pickford might be wishing he was there already. Not great from him, and even worse from Everton overall. But Bournemouth are shaky with a two-goal lead. Bournemouth 2, Everton 0.
Yeah, that's Bournemouth 2, Everton 0. Dave Garrett there with that one there. So Jordan Pickford making a mistake in that game, and the worrying form, I suppose, heading into the World Cup, although it's just a mistake. We'll let him off. But there was probably more worrying news for Gareth Southgate on the injury front from the London Stadium. It's West Ham versus Leicester City, and Guy Swindles.
West Ham 0, Leicester 1. Fascinating first half. Leicester dominated the early proceedings, deservedly took the lead through Maddison as they walked through the West Ham defence in the 8th minute. But worryingly for England and the World Cup, Maddison had to go off with an injury. No one near him when he went down, and that could be a concern for Southgate. After that, West Ham completely took control. If they'd taken any of their chances, and Paqueta had 3 excellent ones and spurned them all, and if Leicester keeper Danny Ward hadn't been on such fine form with 2 fabulous saves, well, they'd have been level. As it was, Leicester should have doubled their lead just before the break when Daka was fouled by Dawson. VAR made sure that the penalty was given, but Fabianski saved Tielemans' effort. West Ham 0, Leicester 1.
There's been a number of goals at Anfield in the first half. Shane Pennington was watching Liverpool versus Southampton.
It's Liverpool 3, Southampton 1, and so far it's been a tough afternoon for new Southampton manager Nathan Jones. He saw his side initially peg back Liverpool, but after that they were very much second best. It was the hosts who took the lead on 6 minutes. Robertson's free kick headed home by Firmino. Then that Southampton equaliser 3 minutes later. Ward-Prowse with a free kick headed home by Che Adams. But as soon as Liverpool hit the front, they've not looked back. Harvey Elliott with a cross, volleyed home by Darwin Núñez to make it 2-1. And Núñez got his second of the afternoon 3 minutes before the break, tapping home from an Andy Robertson cross. It's Liverpool 3, Southampton 1.
Let's hear about the first half from the game we're watching in studio here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Watching Tottenham versus Leeds was Ian Beach.
Tottenham 1, Leeds 2. Tottenham supporters booing the half-time whistle. Leeds leading this match twice. Crescencio Somerville one-on-one with Hugo Lloris after 10 minutes put them ahead. Harry Kane equalised, a slightly controversial one with the Leeds goalkeeper Ilian Meslier bundled into his own net at a corner just at the moment when Kane put the ball in, but VAR allowed that goal to stand. And Rodrigo just before half-time, also from a corner, this time for Leeds, put Leeds back in front, the ball dropping over the Tottenham defence, and Rodrigo one-on-one with Lloris putting the ball in the back of the net. And all this despite the fact that Spurs are starting with Richarlison and Dejan Kulusevski in their starting lineup. At half-time, Tottenham 1, Leeds 2.
And the final game that was a 3 o'clock kickoff in the Premier League City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest against Crystal Palace and Adam Jury.
Nottingham Forest 0, Crystal Palace 0. Both sides have squandered decent chances to score, but the home fans audibly feel the Eagles should be down to 10 men as Mitchell fouled Lingard when he was through on goal, the ref only showing a yellow after deciding he wasn't the last man. The Eagles were then later awarded a penalty as Zaha went down easily under the arms of Worrell, but Zaha failed to take advantage of it as he shanked the ball wide of the post, and that sums up Palace's finishing so far. Half-time at the City Ground, it's Nottingham Forest 0, Crystal Palace 0.
Yeah, we're live and Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. We'll keep you up to date on those Premier League scores as they go. go in the second half. Still in studio with Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent. We're on the stream as well now, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter as per usual. Delighted to be joined as well in studio by the Dundalk club captain Brian Gartland. Brian, how are things?
Oh, good. Shane, thanks for having me.
Keep it well. Your season's over with Dundalk. How's the body feeling after the...
Yeah, my season started and ended on the same day.
Well, that's it, yeah.
But
you had a good game as well when you come on?
Yeah, I was delighted with it. Frustrating year for myself, but for the club it was a good, successful year back in Europe, and it was part of the rebuild. It was positive moves forward.
Is it tough watching Rovers win it again? Must be difficult for other clubs when you have a team with a bit of dominance. A 3 in a row is not easy to. Everyone starts to hate the team that's winning, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. It's hard for us, I suppose, that we're there for Dundalk so long and winning, seeing anybody winning. But I suppose realism kicks in, and you've got your own job. We've got our own goals and that to go. But days like tomorrow in the FAI Cup final, and I suppose when they do lift the title, a bit of it does be there going. But that's just a competitive streak in you.
Yeah.
How many cup finals in a row did you have? Was it sort of 6? Was it
6? Was it? I think, yeah. 1-3, lost 3. So.
Yeah.
You felt both emotions plenty of times, so.
Yeah, and it's always the ones you lose, the stick in the head more, and how you lose them as well. So, but they're brilliant days.
My first time, I just copped this when you walked in. My first time ever talking on radio was the UCD. So I was the sports editor of the University Observer in UCD. You won't remember this.
Oh,
this was 20. What year was this? 20, maybe 13 or 14. Ireland were appointing a new manager. It would have been Mick McCarthy's.
No, Martin O'Neill. They were in November 2013.
O'Neill taking over. Myself, as the sports editor of the college paper, Brian Gartland and Martin Russell were asked in to talk about who we thought should be the. You won't remember this. It was the UCD college radio station, and you came into UCD and spoke about who you think about Martin O'Neill and who you think should get the job. So that was my first time ever talking on radio was with Brian Gartland. We've come full circle.
I can't recollect that now. Actually.
We've come full circle.
It's a long time ago. Sports Centre, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Geez, that's years ago.
You actually got paid for that as well.
I got nothing. I was crap. Useless. But how's the body feeling, Brian? There's, I suppose, the end of the season is when you start thinking about the next season and whether you want to go again. And there's plenty of questions in your head probably that you have to come up with answers to.
Yeah, I'm at a crossroads. Obviously, I'd done the ACL last year, and that was a year. You know you're out, and then came back this year. Had a plantar fasciitis, a slight tear in it, and then an aggravation to it after, and then just a minor injury, I suppose, towards the end of the season. So it was tough that way, very tough mentally, because it was just little bits. But I suppose the big injury at my age just meant it a little bit longer to get the body back to that speed. And I'd like to think I proved then on last Sunday against Derry that I'm back to that. But we'll see what the future holds.
Watch this space. Well, the fans obviously wanted you to continue and keep going. They were impressed by your performance last week.
Yeah, but fans that can change week in, week out.
Yeah, of course.
Football's a game of opinions, and it changes every week. So I wouldn't read too much into that.
Brian's always been a good man to deal with in terms of the media.
Oh yeah, no, listen, I mean he's got his own book now as well. He's done his book, so
ideal. Signed copies.
No, I mean like it's I think like that Dundalk side, I'm sort of speaking about them in the past tense now. I don't mean it in that sense, but I suppose that Dundalk team probably in their pomp when they sort of won their 3 in a row in 2016 and sort of had their European year, it was always very open in sense of like access to players and stuff, which I think is important. I think that's one of the selling points for the league actually, is the accessibility of the characters and the people within it. I think even particularly in like cup final weekend, this is the thing. Like this is almost like a showpiece weekend for the game here. It's it's tomorrow afternoon. You'll have whatever the crowd will be. I think there's over 30,000 tickets gone at this stage. Like that's the biggest crowd the players that play in front of all season pretty much, unless something mad happens in Europe. This will always be the biggest game they play, the biggest crowd they experience, and it's always a great chance to sort of tell the stories. And I think, to be fair, there was never really any issue with access to the dog players at the time, and as a result you got to hear a lot more from them, and it's the league is probably like, I feel like it's getting slightly bigger now, and that's still very hard to know how things are going to go over the next decade, but it does feel like sort of levels are in some areas are like growing, probably in terms of exposure, in terms of stuff, and like obviously then there's a temptation for clubs to sort of start like professionalise everything in terms of like controlling access, and you don't want to go too far with that in this league though as well, because like you know, every player I think is always selling themselves.
Yeah,
you know,
you need
like,
the PR. The league needs the PR.
And that would be your experience, definitely, I'm sure. You know.
Yeah, that's always been the way. Like there was never really protocol or restricted access in terms of, you might say, listen, I was asked to do this or I was asked to do that, and then like, go ahead. But then it came to a stage a couple of years ago that, you know, you sort of had to get permission. I got banned from doing media because they didn't
You're too
like
honest.
it. Well, it was different owners and different people running it, so they didn't want me, I suppose, my opinion out there.
You specifically?
Yeah, me specifically. Dan knows the story of it. Yeah, towards the end during Europe. But so yeah, when the league gets bigger and you get more people into it in terms of ownership and running clubs, and they try to be more professional, they'll try, I suppose, control every aspect of the club and the game, and you lose, I suppose, what the authentic bit of the League of Ireland has been, especially for journalists having access and relationships with journalists, and because they're a massive stakeholder in the game as well, because listen, we need that for the game to grow here, and we need the stories and the publicity and the good relationships.
Like, you sort of even saw the photograph of yourself in the dressing room with Damien Duff the other day, like, and the journalists gathered around asking him questions and open with the time. Like, that's what you need. You need time with these managers, and you need them to be open and honest as well. It can't be just the usual platitudes in interviews either.
No, like, and I think like I would always argue like that the league should often be pushed through its players, now managers as well. Like, and maybe at times in the past there was too much on the managers. Like, and I suppose I think back sort of 20 years ago when it was all sort of Dolan and Keeley and sort of and you know, Roddy, like, and in fairness, they were actually salespeople in their own way too.
Yes.
And they were probably incredibly effective at it. They would sometimes work together, you know, create little feuds to build up something. And sometimes you think, you need that little bit of you know, that little bit of spice there and stuff too. But I do think as well, like, the players are a big thing too. Like, you know, there's great stories out there. Like, there's some like really interesting people playing in the league who you know, in some cases, like, you know, have like experienced things you wouldn't sort of believe, you know. And I guess what I'm talking about now, I'm more talking about maybe even the influx of some overseas players into the league, and like you have someone like Serge Atakai, who was playing for St Patrick's Athletics, a very, you know, excellent player. Second half of the season, you know, he sort of, I think he left sort of Congo, took asylum in Finland when he was 12, 13, you know, played for Rangers. You know, football has taken him all around the world, and these people are sort of living and working here, and you know, their stories are out there, you know. And sometimes, like, I know when you're pushing, say, you know, looking for coverage of League of Ireland stuff, it's very much like, oh, you know, it's a League of Ireland piece, and there's a certain deep-seated thing that maybe might linger with that. But like, there's actually some brilliant, like, human interest stories around the league, and sort of every player probably playing in the league maybe at times has aspired to play at a higher level, but they have their own degree of their own struggle that is like, you know, that's taken them to where they are. I mean, like, your book is a sort of a case in point. Like, you've sort of spoken about the sort of, you know, the various battles you would have faced to maybe get to the level even that you did, you know.
Yeah, and every player, like you said, has their story, because really, like, even at this age, I used to say, when you go out and play football, you're still like a little boy living a dream, or you're still chasing a dream, because you're trying to win that trophy. You're trying to be there tomorrow in the Aviva lifting. So it doesn't matter what age you are, because
you think you're younger in your head, like.
Yeah, but once you get it, once it's football, once it's sport, it's like you looking at everyone coming out of the Aviva from the rugby there, and it doesn't matter what age you are, you sort of lose yourself and you become a child again, you know, with that sort of euphoria of sport. So as a player, that's what it is, and everyone has their sort of trials, tribulations going through, and like you said, that story I didn't know, you know, obviously it's history, and there's plenty more that you could go through, and
so much of that, like,
every player in this league probably has one, because there's not like in other, say, sort of the bigger codes or the more successful codes in this country, a lot of people have come through very similar journeys, like, you know, a lot of
academies,
like the, you know, a lot of the Leinster lads, I know there's individual stories within it, but again, they've come through a certain route, whereas often you could look at the pitch tomorrow, you could have 22 players with 22 different stories, you know, and like, you know, who've probably, a lot of them maybe have been released at various times in their life, they've had rejection at various times in their life. It's probably certain that they all have to some degree, and yet, like, this is why these moments for them, like playing in front of whatever the crowd may be tomorrow, is a sort of reward for all the slog and all the sort of the graft and on those sort of dark nights which they've all pretty much endured. You know?
It's incredible. You forget about all these stories that are just nuggets of information and anecdotes that you need to get out there in the league. Just watching Matt Doherty there come off the bench for Tottenham, by the way. Ben Davies equalising there about 7 minutes ago, so it's now Tottenham 2, Leeds 2. Like Brian, when you look, and look, I don't want this to sound like it's in the past tense, but you said you're at a crossroads. But when you're talking about your career, and I guess it's because you have the book out as well. But like when you look back in that glorious Dundalk era, like what's the highlight? What's the career highlight, I suppose, when you look and think back? Is there any particular
It has to be a
season or
collective,
moment?
It just has to be a collective of those occasions. Like you've gone through it loads of times in terms of you have that first day winning the first league title, and it's all or nothing at home in front of your own fans. But then you get the big European days.
Yes.
And title after title, but the first one's the sweetest. You know, it's like a cup final, but for the league, it's rarely ever comes down to the last day we are playing the top two, and then you've got the big European nights, and then different cup wins and stuff like that. But so it's sort of like it's a collective, and you don't take it in too much at the time. You try to celebrate on that, but you're always just looking for the next one. Or you're always, like I said, focusing on the one that got away. In terms of, because that's just your sort of competitiveness and not happy. But when you look back on it, it's you know, playing in the country here, it's the closest you could get to, I suppose, like I said, those boyhood dreams of being like Matt Doherty there and coming on in a stadium like that in the Premier League.
And it's like I think about the All-Ireland football and hurling finals and the players doing the parade and the walk beforehand. Like the FAI Cup final is the closest we have, I suppose, in football in this country to that like special feeling at the Aviva Stadium before a big game. Like, what year was your first FAI Cup final?
2015.
2015. So like, what's that like before the game? Because the build-up is huge, the coverage it gets is huge, obviously.
And for your first one, like,
massive.
And you're nervous. You know, it's a new feeling. Like I said, it's a showpiece and everyone's tuning in. And people that we always say, like, people that don't give League of Ireland time of day, they'll probably tune in that day, or there's a chance of them tuning in that day and turning up. And it's just the nerves. You do get nerves and stuff like that the first time. And just everything, just even getting your suits, to build up the hotel the day before, the giddiness around the lads, and no white suits. Although a few clubs have come close with it, a few outrageous ones the last few years, haven't there been?
What was the dodgiest one?
Bows or Rovers had a couple of them, didn't they?
Yeah, I think the Bows one last year attracted a few comments, I think. Yeah.
But it's just a buzz. Like I'm looking at Derry. We were up there last Sunday and we were walking around the town having a coffee, a few of us beforehand, and there's some buzz, like there's people sticking their head out the window and going, we have a cup final next week. Like they're shouting at us just for having a crack. And then I see the fireworks last night up on the hill down over the city. Like it's been a week long. All the lads, obviously I'll be close to a few lads up there. They're in the schools all week and the schools are going nuts. And it's when you have a town, Dundalk could be the same, the town get behind you like Derry is there. It's just an incredible feeling, like.
Because you can get lost sometimes in the city. Obviously, within the area where the club is based, like the Shelbourne fans will be going nuts this week and build up to it. But sometimes that town feel, or when it is Derry or Dundalk or even Cork, you've got that.
Well, that was the thing. In fairness, though, like in saying all of that, like I mean, last year Bows and Pats was the biggest one since the first one. I think. Oh, it actually was bigger, wasn't it? It was
36,000 last year. Was the biggest, I think.
So. Like they actually got their act together, and I think actually, I mean, there's maybe a general discussion of like where the league is at the moment. That I'm sort of interested to get Brian's view on that, you know, the minimum wage and various things that are happening. You kind of wonder what the next 10 years are going to be like. But in terms of the last 10 years, for me, actually, one of the biggest differences has been probably Dublin clubs getting their act together in that regard. It's true, you can't replicate that sort of one club town thing.
It's because everyone's in that
it's
one
like
area.
It's like a GAA sort of thing. It's almost becomes, people may not necessarily be fans, but they sort of identify with the team to some degree. That's their team. In Dublin, that's harder. But in fairness, Bows and Pats and teams have started to like navigate the Dublin 7 or Dublin 8 or the sort of surrounding regions. And I know Shells have tried to make some efforts to do some stuff in Drumcondra this week, because like, where is their fan base actually from? They could be from all over the place, you know. And, you know, Shells actually, you know, I've been in Southside at times. You know, like there's like the Rings End element to it. Like so, like a lot of the clubs in Dublin, like or in some cases, they've sort of had nomadic histories. So like their identity is sort of moves around, and obviously within Dublin, like you know, you can you know that as you would know well, like
spread out, so it's sparse, and so it's you don't have a collective in one area, you know, following the one team. Like I have friends over my way on the south side, and they'd be big Shells fans, obviously from going back years ago. You know, so if you've got people dotted everywhere, you're not going to have that same atmosphere or that same feeling that you've got in a town where it's just everyone in the one direction.
Yes. It's funny, the interest, you talk about the interest in something like the cup final. I remember sitting in Lisbon Airport last year, it was, for the Dundalk Pats game, and watching a stream or whatever on the laptop. There's two other Irish lads, like obviously waiting flights as well, both doing the same thing. Like it was just, people are now, it's one of these prestigious events in Ireland that you just want to sit down and watch, because there's been so many great cup finals as well.
Well, great endings. I mean, the mad thing about it is a lot of the games have been
drama.
You know, like sometimes I don't know, like there's that all maybe those elements, those factors that Brian speaks about there. You know, the nerves of the stadium or whatever. I don't know why is it, but like so many of them have gone to extra time and penalties. And I actually would say that in recent years, in a couple of the finals, the extra times have actually all been pretty good.
Yeah, actually, last year the extra time stole it.
90 minutes. No, like if the game had been judged on the 90 minutes, you would have been thinking, God, that was a typical, like, biggest crowd, and the game didn't deliver. But then Chris Forrester scores, and then Bows get it back, and there's like goal line clearances, and the game really opened up, and it was a cracker. I mean, Bows really could even have won it if there'd been a sort of a VAR thing in the sort of in the 120th minute. So like that is that's like we're looking at tomorrow's game, like, and there's a lot of reasons anyway to believe that Derry Shells tomorrow could be cagey, because you would imagine, I don't know, Brian, I think Shells I think they'll probably let Derry have the ball a bit and sort of see if they can break them down. So it has the sort of potential to be that type of game, but you're always hoping that there's like an early goal or something that will just spark it into life. Because once it gets 0-0 to past 30 minutes, you're sort of sitting there going, we're going to be here for another 90 minutes now. We got
a text in earlier there to 53106. How well has Damien Duff done in his first season as Shelburne manager? 7th in the league, in the cup final with ticket sales well north of 30,000 and possible external investment coming in from Sports Republic. That's from Dave in Dublin. He's been a revelation, like, in charge. What a season. I mean, look, the league position to come up from the first division and secure that Premier Division status is brilliant, but to get to a cup final is just remarkable. He's got a future in management, this Duff lad.
Yeah, he's obviously played under Mourinho, I think. Yeah. Because what he's done great is, like, when the squad was being put together at the start of the year, like, listen, I'd always have an opinion, and I've no qualms saying it. Dan knows, I'll be honest enough, at that start of the season I thought Shell's going to struggle when they put it together, because there's a lot of young players there, and it wasn't the team I thought Damien Duff would put together. But what he has done is he's put a team together, and they fight for him, they play for him, and he's obviously identified and said, right, first thing is stay in the league. First thing is get up, and they've had rocky patches. They're into the season, the last 10-12 games. I think their points tally until that Waterford game wouldn't have been too great. But at the same time, maybe they're safe to consider they're more on the cup run. But they've got a way of playing. They work so hard, and there's a few quality players, young players in there, like with real futures abroad, I'd say. But in terms of Duffer as a manager, I think he doesn't give a toss what anyone thinks, and it's just about them, and it's nearly the siege mentality.
Just going to say
they have it,
and that's, you know what I mean. That's his way. He's done that, and that's what he wants to do. He's done that perfectly.
Sleeping giant.
Well,
just a giant. It's only a giant.
Johnny, himself and Johnny were reunited on our podcast this week, but I think the thing about Shells is like the team actually seem to quite like each other.
Yeah.
You know, like you actually, and you would talk to the lads. They socialise together. So I know that like some of that stuff can be superficial. Right? I never recall a player giving an interview where he said the spirit's pretty bad in the dressing room at the moment. You know, like we actually, you know, they're a bad bunch of lads in there. But the Shells stuff, I think it's very genuine. Like when they talk about sort of the little rapport they have, and it's probably in some ways like. And that's great, right? They've built something, but the texter does mention like there is talk of this investment coming. I say talk, I mean it's my own story, so I should probably like say I believe this is true. There is something happening there with potentially pretty decent investment coming in, and like if they hadn't made the cup final, right? It's like that was a good season, like that was decent. You're not putting it on some kind of pedestal as sort of what a season is. Like that was grand. The cup final is obviously elevated it. If they win it, I mean it's an incredible season. You know. If they don't, okay, still. But I think my point is, like, they're going to have to go to another level now, and unity versus suddenly now they're able to probably bring in lads and a bit more money. And
well, you're going to have to if you need to. Like, the only thing is that there's that much noise and everyone saying that they've had a great season. Is that the next step is you have to move forward. Football is you always have to progress. So then you have to look to bring in a couple of people. It's hard getting that same character with people that have, say, more experience and fitting the dynamism with that team. You know, like you said, and it. So that's then the next step. But for this season, like you said, they've done good. They've done well in terms of their league performance, and then the cup has been brilliant.
Like we mentioned Birmingham City earlier, so that when they won the League Cup and then got relegated, like somehow Shelbourne have managed to do both stay up, comfortably stay up and get to a cup final as well, and remains to be seen whether they'll win tomorrow. But that investment from Sports Republic, like it's exciting. Like you look at the clubs like Southampton and Midtjylland, you know, it's project.
Brentford,
of course. Like it's real projects that this group take over. So that's exciting for Shelbourne fans.
Well, Brian's obviously been through big investment coming in, taking over a football club, and there's a scepticism that's there. I suppose the thing about this crew is, I mean, Rasmus Ankersen, the main person involved with Sports Republic, he's the co-founder. Like he's made his money through football. Like, now they are being backed by a Serbian sort of magnate, but he's made his sort of the company's existence is based around football. It's not, say, an investment firm that's been successful in another field, and then it's adding a football wing to it as a little bit of a let's see how this might go for us, you know. And that's, I mean,
that's a big element.
Dundalk have like lived through that, you know, and other clubs have probably lived through versions of that. So it's a little bit more data based. It's a little bit more strategic in terms of how they do things.
It's really interesting. Like I remember a few years ago reading up on that. Obviously, the Midtjylland and Brentford and Midtjylland got into the Champions League off the back of it. You know, set pieces, statistics, all that. And Mike Tracy would have been, you know, an element of that side. He was at Dundalk. He was our chairman. And he was the sort of main man in front of Peak Six runner. And then, really, when Mike went away, is when I suppose our downfall came about. That on that side of things. So it's interesting.
Geez, if you're a Shelbourne fan, you're.
Yeah, like I mean,
you're buzzing, like.
Yeah, like it seems pretty close now. You still you still want to see that done and see what it means, and obviously, like, you know, they've got a club in Turkey. They've looked at clubs in Europe, and it's still early days. Like these multi-club models are sort of taking off. Like, you know, you have the Red Bull ones and the City Football Group, and to what extent is there a crossover between them? Like, to what extent do they share players or do stuff like that? You know, it's to be seen. And like you have someone like Damien Duff, who's a pretty like you know, sort of a strong-willed sort of character. You know, and is he necessarily going to be sort of have his recruitment influenced by this type of stuff? So there's all these elements you have to, like, I don't know, like you want to see what it means to them, and they might have different ideas for different clubs. So like, I'm careful of jumping too far down the line with it, but it is more the case, and this is the point around the league, like generally, that it's, I think there's like people believing there's some potential here. Now, there's still always only one team can win the league, right? Only one team can realistically embark on that sort of champions route through the league that can lead to the group stages. And we've been here before in the past where everyone's chasing the same thing, and it creates financial problems. So there's that small little niggle there of going, okay, like we're having another crack at professionalism here. We had a crack at it in the 2000s and it flopped, you know, because it was too much too soon and it just didn't work. We're trying to having another go at it now. And I mean, Brian is a business sort of Hannon as well as a sort of a football one, and I don't know what you make of like where we're going.
That's my
now.
worry for it.
Yeah,
is that
like you have the minimum wage coming in this week, for example, which is a great initiative, you know, for players to give them a degree of security at a younger age, but then clubs are wondering how many people will be signed as professionals, and so I don't know what your sense is and where we're going generally.
That's kind of on both elements, like you say. The investment coming in is brilliant, especially when it comes from a football background and people that have been through, I suppose, long term in other clubs, and then the minimum wage as well. Is that what happens if, like, I'm looking at Facebook this week and there's 11,000 jobs gone, looking at Twitter, looking at Salesforce, looking at a couple of others, I'm like, right, what way is the economy going next year? And me and you were both about sort of following League of Ireland when I was only coming into the league, and I was thinking, lovely, just, you know, I might not get to England, but I'll get a good wage here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm on 150 quid a Monaghan for a couple of years.
Nothing wrong with Monaghan, by the way.
No, nothing wrong. It was 150 quid I kind of aspired to get more than.
Yeah.
But that was the realistic, and I'm, you know, just chasing a dream and slogging it out on pittance or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So that's when the crash came.
Yes.
And football, just like clubs went, court cases, everything like that. It's going to be secondary to investors putting money into a football club. You know, the money, where the money's coming from, first of all, is going to be their prime concern and offload all costs. So, and that's where, I suppose, minimum wage comes in. The minimum wage shouldn't have too much effect in that, because if you think, like, the minimum wage for over 20-year-olds on a full-time professional will be $4.30 a week, so what's that, 22, 23 grand?
Yeah.
Like, the cost of the average wage in the country is probably 33 to 36.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not enough to live in Dublin, $430 a week.
Well, I mean, as has been pointed out, and like the profile of the league is so young now that, like, a lot of the players in Dublin, like, the young ones will probably be living at home. I think
fair.
Or
some get their accommodation
a
house for 5 of the lads or something put up.
Yeah.
But then the good side of it is, like, I know a lot of people would read the headlines during the week, and it's nearly like an apprentice thing, is that, because if that was the case from the ages 16, 17, 18-year-olds, they're not going to get chances in full-time clubs.
Yes.
So there is it starts off, I think, at 230, 280, and then it goes 330, 380 for 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. So under 18s is like
I think it's 280. 280. Yeah.
So because that would hinder them if it was 430, because you're thinking, right, I have this, I can take a chance on a young lad and bring him on full-time. Okay. But with 280 you will, and the young lad will say, yeah, I want to have a go.
Of course. Not going to say no.
No, exactly, sort of thing. So it is staggered like that, and then you go to and that's only for full-time professionals.
Well, Stephen McGuinness made the point of the PFAI during the week. Like, there's an amateur player playing in the cup final tomorrow. Like, he didn't name the player, but like, it's very mad when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's
there's moving parts, though.
Yeah, the
there's
amateur player,
agents and everything.
That amateur player would be a young player who's just broken into the team. Recently enough, and this is the thing. Like, what happens to those type of players in the future? Like, our club's going to look at a 17-year-old promising player, and in some cases say, will we just keep them on those amateur terms until
you
know, that's
the
gamble
anyway.
You're entitled to the compensation. I mean, a lot of it just comes down to, like, the economics of letting players go, and there, you know, sometimes players don't necessarily, they'll have people advising them not to sign a professional contract for some reasons, you know.
And people will say, well, they're going to get the compensation anyway, so they should sign the contract. But the other side of it is, and it's creeped in the league here a lot, is that agents are looking to put in low buyout clauses. Right? So say your two clubs going off it, and one club saying, well, no, we're not doing that because we're not, you know,
to get their sign-on fee, essentially.
Well, no, to get them a move quickly.
Well, of course,
abroad. And then another club will, like, right, well, if this gets us that player for a year, then we'll do that. And as you've seen a couple of
players,
players,
let them go for 30 grand or whatever it might be.
That's it. So there's that other side of things, and then you know, I think it's brilliant that it's come in, because, you know, we started talking about it in the PFAI many years ago, and the FAI, you weren't even, like, we had a collective bargaining agreement that was produced years ago, and I think it only went in to them in the last couple of years because they wouldn't even open the door to look at it. And then obviously there's the new FAI, as we talk about, but as was noted before, is that, like, all stakeholders were going to have an involvement with this new FAI, but the players have never had a seat at the table, so hopefully that's going to change. So listen, it's delicate, and you have to understand from clubs' point of views as well that they're not cash rich, and the I suppose varsity, from the top clubs to the bottom clubs, it's major. Even in the one league, it's major. So it's a really complex and a hard thing to figure out. So it needs everyone, but unfortunately, Irish football is always fragmented. So you always have everybody sort of wanting their bit instead of everyone working together and pulling in the same direction. So
loads of interesting talking points still to get into. We do have to take an ad break, but plenty to still touch on between now and 5 o'clock. Just to update you on the Premier League scores. So Rodrigo has scored a second for Leeds. They lead Tottenham 3-2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 78 minutes on the clock now. Earlier, of course, Man City 1, Brentford 2. Ivan Toney with both goals, including a dramatic injury time winner for Brentford in that game. It's Bournemouth 3, Everton 0 now. Jadon Anthony has scored the third for Bournemouth. Still Liverpool 3, Southampton 1 on 78 minutes. Firmino with the first, and 2 from Darwin Nunez. Nottingham Forest have the lead against Crystal Palace 1-0 at home at the City Ground. Morgan Gibbs-White has the only goal of the game in that one. It's still West Ham 0, Leicester City 1 at the London Stadium. James Maddison scoring the goal, but going off injured. It looked like a possible hamstring strain and a concern there for Gareth Southgate ahead of the World Cup. 5:30 game is Newcastle against Chelsea from St James's Park, and a little bit later on, Arsenal away to Wolves at 7:45 as they look to stretch their lead at the top of the Premier League table to 5 points after City's slip up earlier. I do want to say as well, today St Mary's Gaelic Football Club members are proposing to kick a point in all 32 GAA grounds. With the permission of each county and the GAA, 16 St Mary's teams are travelling, and hashtag kick a point for Shamey in 2 neighbouring counties. This fundraiser is in aid of Seamus Brady, a lifelong member of St Mary's Gaelic Football Club in County Meath. It was in his capacity as a hard-working volunteer that Shamey fell from the roof at St Mary's Clubhouse in September of 2015. The club are reaching out to the GAA community and the wider community to support Shamey now in his hour of need. There is a GoFundMe page set up, and you can donate by going to gofundme.com/f/kick a point for Shamey, hyphen between each of those words. You'll find more details, of course, on the St Mary's Twitter pages as well. Loads still to get into with myself, Shane Hannon. We've Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent and Dundalk club captain Brian Gartland still in studio for OTB Football Saturday. Back after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Wolves versus Arsenal on Saturday Night Football. Tonight, live on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
Did you hear about Charles? He was murdered last night.
Inside the Crime is back with Season 2, the Charles self-murder.
Yeah, he didn't have time to defend himself, he just attacked.
It's been 40 years since he was killed in his Dublin home.
You could have a kind of fear if you did get on the wrong side of him.
His murder is still unsolved.
And then they said, do you mind if we ask you a question? You wouldn't happen to be one of them boys yourself, would you?
Episode 1 is available now.
The drawing doesn't match the person that came home in the taxi.
Subscribe to Inside the Crime on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Without good sleep, life can feel a bit. But sleeping on an Emma mattress with a customizable Emma pillow on an Emma bed will make life feel a lot more. This Black Friday, get 54% off our award-winning Emma premium mattress. And for 5% extra off, use the code BLACKFRIDAY at the checkout. Order your 200-night sleep trial and bring joy into your days. Go to emma-sleep.ie. Emma Premium Mattress 200-night trial. T's and C's apply. Offer ends 28th November.
If your cough has become part of your life...
Another bottle, please.
...then it's trying to save you. Please, sign the petition for a national lung screening trial at mariekeating.ie and get that cough checked early when lung cancer can be treated. The Big Checkup from the Marie Keating Foundation, brought to you by AstraZeneca, BMS, MSD, Pfizer, Roche, Takeda.
Stay warm this winter with a Morphy Richards electric blanket and keep your home cozy with the Dimplex range of heaters, radiators and coal effect fires. For more information, go online to paracity.ie or call in store today.
Order. There's a lot to be said for it. Not the restrictive, always play by the book, straight down the line kind of order, but the order you place for a brand new 231 Audi. An order best placed having experienced true progress with a test drive at your Audi dealer, where you will also get advice on the options available to ensure owning your 231 Audi is as straightforward as possible, which is proper order. Visit your nearest Audi dealer, where future is an attitude.
Island's Edge Stout is less bitter, and so is Alana Rourke from Dublin. Alana.
Well, my so-called best friend Emma knew I liked this guy Eric, but then she asked him out before I could. And 2 years later they were married.
Ah, no.
Yeah, but I'm not so bitter about it now.
Well, that's good.
Especially since Eric ended up ageing like milk left out in the sun.
Yeah, we're going for less bitter here now.
And the kids. Oh, the kids, right?
No, sorry. Thank you, Alana. Okay, thanks for sharing. Island's Edge. It's better, less bitter.
Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank, move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app in sole name for over 18 personal customers. Residents of Republic of Ireland only. Fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded Bunkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Have a look at this. I ordered a bouquet from flowers.ie and they sent me a video.
Oh, wow.
I only ordered them this morning. Flowers.ie offers same-day delivery.
Really? And do they send everyone a video?
Yeah, so you can check that they're just right.
Oh, that's very clever. And are they for a special someone?
Well, why don't you answer the door and find out?
Say it with flowers from www.flowers.ie. Rated 5 stars on Trustpilot.
It's been a long year, so with Christmas on the way, reward your team with something extra special. Why not say thank you with up to €1,000 tax-free at Tesco? Our corporate gift cards work across all our departments, so there'll be something for everyone. Flowers for some, Tipp-Ex for others. Business gifting has never been easier. Visit tescoforbusiness.ie or call 01 215 2526 to learn more. Tesco. Every little helps. Terms and conditions apply.
Declan? Yeah? Did you know there's already been more than 20 big Euro Millions winners this year?
What? 20?
Yeah, and that's just in Ireland.
Whoa, wait, how big is big?
At least €500,000.
Whoa! Oh, is that another dream?
Yeah, snorkeling in Fiji. Hey, Decky.
Yeah?
Don't forget your ticket.
The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun. Euro Millions and Euro Millions Plus wins between January and September 2022.
Christmas, a time to celebrate family and friends with seasonal get-togethers and thoughtfully chosen gifts. Visit Meadows and Byrne, a guaranteed Irish business member, for inspiring gift ideas, curated interiors and everything you need to host a memorable festive evening. With a distinct style story of its own, Meadows and Byrne offers unique and exclusive choices, all wrapped up in quality and timeless design. So put the G under the tree this Christmas. Visit any one of our 13 stores nationwide or pop online at meadowsandbyrne.com.
Ah, holidays. With all those teeny tiny toiletries, ramming your bag in that weird box thing, knocking knees with a stranger for 2 hours. Oh, seriously, WTF? Where's the ferry? Because Irish ferries get you direct from Dublin to France with fresh air, room to roam, and a warm welcome on board WB Yates. Get the dates and cabins you want for just a €200 deposit. Book early at irishferries.com and see travel differently. Terms and conditions apply.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Fulham versus Man United on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
Yeah, welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. Shane Hannon with you through till 5 on OTB Football Saturday. Delighted to have Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent in studio and Brian Gartland, the Dundalk club captain as well, watching an absolute mad game here. There's just been a red card dished out to Tyler Adams as well for Leeds. 87 minutes on the clock. Tottenham 4, Leeds 3. When we left you before the break, Leeds were 3-2 up. And Bentancur has scored twice in a few minutes there for Spurs. So it was 1-0 to Leeds early on after 10 minutes. Crescencio Somerville gave them the lead. Harry Kane equalised, and it was Rodrigo then who gave Leeds the 2-1 advantage, and it was 2-1 at half time. Ben Davies equalising to make it 2-2. Rodrigo made it 3-2 to Leeds, and then those two Bentancur goals, 2 in 2 minutes, and a red card there for Leeds as well. So an absolute mad one. We're just chatting there during the ad break, lads, about the FAI Cup final tomorrow. We'd take a game like this, like Shelburne need to find something. But these two teams drew a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the bookies I know have Derry as convincing enough favourites for the game, but Shelburne will see it differently. They'll try and find ways of breaking down. You were talking about Derry's maybe lack of pace at the back as well as something they could potentially target.
Well, not necessarily lack of pace. I just mean that Shells have their way of playing, and they're very good at stopping other teams from playing. They counter-attack, and then if Derry come out and sort of get sucked into just sort of camped in and too many players trying to attack too early, you're leaving more space to cover. Not that there'd be lack of pace at the back, but they wouldn't be, I suppose, lightning quick at the back. Not many of us defenders in the league are. But that's just the caginess of it, and you don't want to give a game away early, because if you give a goal away to Shells early, they'll sit in even more, and like they said, they're really hard to break down. They've 5-3-2, and the lads work so hard. And at the same time, I think that's the best way for Shells to play in a big pitch. Derry's got great pace and talent there that they don't want to be leaving too much space exposed. So we're hoping for an early goal. We were saying there, Stan said a Derry goal. To start open the game up.
Come here, the big pitch, right? Everyone, this is a constant talking point before games in the Aviva, and I was actually
and it never materialised.
But I was at the press day the other day, and I remember years ago playing like a charity match on the pitch, and it seems like a pretty big pitch, but maybe all the pitches seem big to me at that stage. How different is it to, you've done 120 minutes at the Aviva, where is it bigger, if you know what I mean? Is it wider? Is it sort of lengthwise? What is it that people keep referencing that fact?
Yeah, I don't have the measurements of it, but I don't know, maybe the perception of it is bigger because I suppose the space, the way the stadium goes up, there's people not right on top of the sidelines like in League of Ireland games. Derry's pitch is big, Dalymount's really big, down in Wexford Youth it's massive. So I've always found it's good for making the game expansive if controlling it with the ball and that. But in terms of, I'd love to actually know the difference.
But is it more draining to play on? I kind of wonder, is it that the emotion? The emotion. You do see players out on their feet sometimes at the end of extra time in some of these games. I think the Bows Pats one last year. Even you could even see.
They were cramping after 60 off.
Forrester getting away from Buckley for the goal, and Buckley was sort of keep Buckley a great player, but he was sort of running in treacle. I think
after 60 minutes last year there was a couple of cramping in 60-70 minutes. So it obviously is just a little bit. Off the top of my head, it seems a bit wider, and then maybe a little bit longer, and then you put the two together, it just adds in a few more yards between the lines and the gaps in the spaces. But I'd be expecting a cagey enough as it is, and like last year, and there's a lot of players there on both sides, but mainly on Shells playing their first cup final, and you saw it last year in terms of, I think the difference was, and I noted it there, the likes of Paddy Barrett, it was no stranger to games like that. He was probably my man of the match. Forrester comes out with a cracker of a goal. He's played in so many big games. He's played there before. Robbie Benson, it was no bother to him. And Bows looked like they just had a little bit of nerves, a lot of, I suppose, straight passes. And cagey, it just allowed for that at the start of the game. And then when I look at Derry team, I look at obviously they have 4 or 5 of our lads from previous who are no stranger to big events, and a couple of other boys that have probably played there. So I think on the day that can be a difference maker, but then again, one mistake and one lapse of judgment.
Patrick McElhenney's playing in his 8th FAI Cup final. Very good to say during the week, which is
that's extraordinary,
ridiculous, and that's I actually think maybe in terms of numbers, I'm not sure if Derry have as many as you might think, but it's that a couple of them, the volume of games that they've actually played. Like Shells, I think of sort of Brendan Clark and Shane Griffin, and then Matty Smith is suspended. I think that's it in their squad. And so Griffin wouldn't have been a huge player involved in previous finals, but would have been a Cork. But the experience that some of the ex-Dundalk lads at Derry would have be substantial, But there definitely is, for people who maybe wouldn't be sort of maybe too familiar with the sort of personality of the two sides, there's definitely a scenario where you see Derry sort of having a lot of the ball in the Shelbourne half, but the question is, can they do enough with it? You mentioned the previous games between the sides this year. All of them have been close. All of them there's been injury time goals to decide it, and a general criticism of Derry this year, they've had a lot of draws, and there's been a lot of games where they've had a lot of the ball and they haven't necessarily won them, and you can see how the final could become that type of game for them, And
on the opposite, they're brilliant at that. They're brilliant at it, they love it. Like I said, and they've got great talent, great young talent going forward. That have a bit of flair when they do get on the ball, you know, and that sort of thing. And
Shane Farrell, you were saying?
Yeah, I think Shane Farrell's excellent. A lot of people obviously will look at Jack Moyle, and he's a brilliant talent, great, and he's got a little bit of a pep in his step, a little bit of arrogance, and you know, he kind of like
bit
that.
Of something about him.
If I want a young lad on my team, I want a bit of that, you know, not
cockiness, but a bit of arrogance.
Yeah, but you need that, and he's like, you look at the way he finished the goal there recently. I was watching it, he just roofed it. I think he robbed it up in Derry, a straight pass out, and any player would just sort of side foot it in, he's just roofing and effing you know. And Shane Farrell though is just, I think he's really good. He's effective. His delivery from set pieces is very good. He works so hard. His awareness on the pitch, different things like that. So they've got great talent like that. We were talking about Sean Boyd's had a great season. He can be awkward to play against if he's on his day. He can be very awkward to play against.
Run out of time quickly here, lads, but a couple of texts coming into 53106. Just having a look at previous winners and finals. Amazed to see a small club, Longford Town, won the FA Cup back-to-back in 03 and 04. Also in the 2001 final, of course, Stephen Kenny involved. I think went for 01, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Peter in Dublin. Surely the league needs the likes of Galway, Waterford and Limerick in the Premier Division. Proper clubs, good facilities and a good following. Like it's a fair point. You need the big cities, I suppose.
Well, I mean, look, Waterford lost the playoff to UCD last night. I think UCD probably motivated by a lot of people talking about what would happen probably when Waterford went up. But it is true, like, you know, there was no club from Munster in the Premier Division this year. There will be one next year by Cork City, but I mean, UCD have earned their place, but it would be, it's offensive to them and UCD, and I can understand why they would be riled by it, but it would be better for the league to have.
Listen, as a player, you want to play in, like, you look at DC Park, it's a good stadium. You'd hope a good Galway club in the city would get a good crowd. Waterford, when we were down there, you know, it's a big crowd in it and stuff like that. But listen, like you said, you have to earn your right to be there, and that's on the pitch first and foremost. And that's another story after watching that game last night. It was so frustrating watching, sort of thing, because
they couldn't break them down. It's almost like
it's like some lads are playing five-a-side football, you know, just trying to do it themselves, sort of thing, you know. And UCD stuck to their job. Andy Moyle have done a great job, and if, like we talk about young players and talent in the league, like they have a few crackers there as well.
And then of course there's the issue as well of the system, the promotion and relegation, the fact that Waterford had to play 4 games to try and go up, and UCD have to play 1 game to stay in the division, so fairly weighted against those Division 1 teams.
There's a few factors in that, but like it's sometimes First Division teams have used that for momentum. I mean, UCD were the First Division team last year and they won, you know, so, but Very fine, lads. Score prediction for tomorrow? No sitting on the fence.
2-1 Derry.
2-1 Derry. Dan?
I'm going to go with Derry after extra time. I'm saying a draw, but Derry to do it before.
It's going to be a 0-0 in normal time. Right. But I'm just being hopeful here.
Yeah. I'm going Damien Duff's Shelburne on penalties.
There we go. That's the Monday morning story there. Yeah.
Written in the stars. So listen, Dan McDonnell, as always, thanks a million for coming in. Brian Gartland, pleasure. Thanks, we'll have to get you in again soon, no doubt. But really appreciate your time coming in this afternoon. Fair play. Loads of action in the Premier League just finishing up. Tottenham 4, Leeds 3 is the final score. Liverpool have beaten Southampton by 3-1 in one of the other games as well. Still West Ham 0, Leicester 2, by the way. Loads still to come on the show, of course, tomorrow. Joe in the hot seat, the paper review from 11:30 on the social streams as well. 2 live Premier League games, Brighton at home to Aston Villa, and of course Fulham against Manchester United. Thanks a lot for listening today. All the podcasts, including Ray McManus from Sports File, Football Saturday as well in the usual places, and on the YouTube. So we'll speak to you tomorrow. Good luck.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass. Give him a ball and he out of space. He'll give you a move with guilt-like grace. He's a nice young man. It's a lovely smile. He's a nice young man. It's a lovely smile.
We're on Twitter. Just look for @NewsTalkFM for the latest updates.
Hi, I'm Ken Doherty, and when I need car insurance, I contact the specialists at insuremycars.ie. Their team always finds me the best policy at the lowest price and with all the benefits I need. If your car insurance is up for renewal, visit insuremycars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as insuremycars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Dundalk has the largest range of electric vehicles in Ireland from Ireland's trusted premium car dealerships. That's why you will find Brady's Dublin Mercedes-Benz on Dundalk. Stop by Brady's Dublin Mercedes-Benz showroom on Dundalk today and connect with them for great deals on electric vehicles. Dundalk, for electric vehicle deals to feel great about from all of Ireland's trusted car dealerships.
Every business is preparing for new opportunities. SkillNet Ireland helps you to understand the skills your business needs to reach its full potential. Continually strengthening your team will give your business the competitive edge. Think business. Think talent. Visit skillnetireland.ie/think talent for supports on developing your people. SkillNet Ireland is a business support agency of the Government of Ireland.
Make Christmas easy and get everything exactly when you want it with Dunnes Stores Christmas pre-order service.